Right now, preppers are quietly clearing specific shelves at grocery stores across the country. Not rice or beans, but 9 specific foods. If you walked past those shelves today, you would have no idea anything was wrong because they still look mostly stocked. And that is exactly how these shortages begin. Close to 7,900 grocery stores are expected to close in 2026 alone. But the stores closing is not the real problem. The real problem is what is disappearing from the ones still open and why it is not coming back at the same price, or in some cases, at all. One item on this list has already doubled in price in under 2 years, and another has a shelf life of 3,000 years yet is still getting harder to find in large quantities. By the end of this video, you will know all 9, the real reason behind each one, and what to actually do about it this week. Number 9. Canned sardines and mackerel. Let's start with the item that has the clearest numbers behind it. Because once you see them, the case makes itself. 3 years ago, a quality tin of sardines in olive oil cost around $2. Today, that exact same product from the same brands runs $4 or more at most retailers. That is a 100% price increase in 3 years. And that is not even the main concern. Availability has become genuinely inconsistent. Regional grocery chains across multiple states are reporting sardine and mackerel shelves that are partially stocked or completely bare, not as a one-off event, but as a recurring pattern with no clear end in sight. So what is actually driving this? Multiple major international fisheries have formally reduced their sardine and mackerel catch quotas, not as a voluntary move, in direct response to declining fish populations and shifting ocean temperatures that are changing where these fish spawn and migrate. It is worth noting that overfishing is not the only factor. Climate-driven changes in ocean conditions play a significant role too, and the two pressures are compounding each other. When quotas fall, global supply contracts. When supply contracts and demand stays flat, prices rise and availability becomes unpredictable. That cycle is now fully underway, and the ocean conditions behind it are not going to reverse on any timeline that matters for your pantry. Here is why the nutrition side deserves real attention. A single can of sardines or mackerel delivers high-quality protein, significant dietary fat, and omega-3 fatty acids at concentrations that exceed many fish oil supplements. In a situation where fresh fish is unavailable for an extended stretch, that combination is genuinely hard to replicate from other shelf-stable sources. Research consistently links omega-3 deficiency, measurable over weeks, not months, to declines in focus, mood stability, and immune function. Go for the olive oil-packed versions. The oil adds additional calories and healthy fats to an already dense product. Most cans carry a shelf life of 3 to 5 years in reasonable storage conditions. The price trend alone makes the case for buying ahead. The next item shows what happens when a shortage is not driven by global fisheries, but by the geography of a single state. Number 8. Canned tomato paste. This one catches people off guard every time. Tomato paste under $1 a can. No problems for decades. So, how is this disappearing? Start with one number, 95%. That is the documented share of all processed tomatoes in the United States grown in a single geographic region. Not roughly, not approximately. 95% of the country's entire processed tomato supply comes from California's Central Valley, and that region is currently under pressure from several directions at once. Water restrictions tied to prolonged drought conditions have tightened significantly, limiting both planting and irrigation across the valley. Labor costs and availability have become serious operational challenges at both the farming and processing levels. And the overall cost of running an agricultural operation in California has increased enough that smaller tomato producers are scaling back acreage or leaving the business entirely. A trend that has been accelerating over the past few years. Here is what makes this hard to fix. Because production is so concentrated in one place, there is no meaningful domestic backup. You cannot shift sourcing to processors in another region when California output drops. Those processors do not exist at the required scale. For most mid-sized regional grocery suppliers, California is the only domestic option. When that output falls, shelves go empty. Then add a packaging problem on top of that. Steel and aluminum costs have risen substantially, pushing up production costs for canned goods across the board. When margins tighten, food companies make a predictable move. They prioritize high-margin products and reduce runs on low-margin ones. Small cans of tomato paste are low-margin. They are frequently among the first items cut when capacity is constrained. The result is what grocery employees are already describing in plain terms. Back orders running 6 weeks or longer. Partial shipments that sell out within hours of arrival. Corporate guidance telling staff not to expect normal inventory levels for months. The practical case for keeping this stocked is straightforward. Tomato paste is one of the few shelf-stable ingredients that genuinely transforms other foods. Rice and beans become chili. Canned vegetables become soup. Pasta goes from flat to something people actually want to eat. In a long stretch of limited variety, that kind of transformation matters more than most people realize until they are actually in that situation. Number 7. Bulk yeast. Most people have never stopped to ask where yeast actually comes from or how few places make it. Yeast production in North America is concentrated in a small number of highly specialized facilities. It is not a product you scale up overnight. Yeast is a living organism. It requires controlled fermentation environments, specific equipment, and precise temperature management through every stage of production and distribution. When demand outpaces those facilities, the gap does not close in days. It closes in months. That is the situation right now. And the path to it is worth understanding. When home baking surged in 2020, manufacturers scaled production to meet it. When that wave cooled, they scaled back down. But the habit of baking at home did not fully disappear. A significant portion of people who started in 2020 kept going. Baseline demand today is meaningfully higher than it was in 2019. Production capacity has largely reverted to pre-2020 levels. The numbers do not line up. Multiple grocery procurement managers have described yeast as being placed on internal watch lists, products they are genuinely uncertain about keeping consistently in stock. When multiple stores across a region run out simultaneously and that pattern repeats across a full quarter, it is not a logistics hiccup. It is a structural mismatch between supply and demand. Standard yeast packets kept at room temperature stay viable for roughly 6 months. Refrigerated around 1 year, frozen close to 2 years. But there is a significantly better option that most people do not know about. Vacuum-sealed commercial yeast in 1 lb blocks stored in a freezer. This format holds full viability for 5 years or longer with almost no quality loss. Each block is the functional equivalent of more than 60 individual 3-packet strips. At a fraction of the cost per unit, the shelf life difference between a standard retail packet and a vacuum-sealed block is not marginal. They belong in entirely separate categories when it comes to long-term planning. Baking bread from scratch with just flour, water, salt, and yeast is one of the most foundational things a household can do for food independence. Without viable yeast, that capability simply disappears. And unlike most of the other items on this list, there is no real substitute. Here is the text you provided, shortened and reformatted into paragraph form with full stops and gaps as you requested. Number 6 is cooking oil in large format containers. 2 years ago, a 1-gallon jug of standard vegetable or canola oil cost around $6. Today, that same jug costs between $12 and $14, more than double in 24 months. Availability has also become inconsistent, with gallon jugs frequently out of stock. The causes are structural. Ukrainian sunflower oil supply is disrupted. Palm oil faces restrictions, and soybean oil prices have climbed. These are not temporary issues. Dietary fat is essential for absorbing vitamins A, D, E, and K, and for hormone and neurological function. Staples like rice and beans contain almost no fat, and a diet without it will cause deficiencies within weeks. Number 5 is bulk bouillon. A single cube costs about 5 cents and makes a cup of broth, while canned broth costs around $2 for the same volume. 200 cubes fit in a shoebox, offering incredible storage efficiency. More importantly, Bouillon transforms plain rice, beans, and vegetables into flavorful meals, combating the psychological effects of dietary monotony. Research shows flavor variety is a key intervention for maintaining morale during extended food restriction. 800 cubes, 400 chicken, 400 beef, cost around $60 and provide 800 servings. The bulk format, containers of 200 cubes or more, is increasingly hard to find, so it is wise to buy more when it is available. Number 4 is shelf-stable bacon. It is fully cooked, vacuum-sealed, needs no refrigeration, and has an 18-month shelf life. It is real bacon, and in a limited food supply that matters. It adds dietary fat to carbohydrate-heavy staples, supporting satiety and hormone function. Its recognizable aroma also provides a psychological boost, changing the feeling of a meal. Several brands have moved to backorder or been quietly discontinued, with vague responses from manufacturers. The availability window at a reasonable price is shrinking, so acting now is prudent. Number 3 is canned butter. Most people have never noticed it, but demand is rising while supply is shrinking. There are only 3 major U.S. producers, and 2 have had significant operational problems. One facility had a fire, and the other faces a shortage of metal cans for packaging. This has created a shortage in a category few are watching. Canned butter lasts 5 to 10 years in cool conditions, far outlasting fresh butter. One can holds the equivalent of 3 sticks. At current prices, the cost is close to fresh butter, but the stored value is incomparable. Farm supply stores that stocked it reliably are now selling out quickly and restocking slowly. Number 2 is evaporated milk in pull-tab cans. Shortages begin with small gaps, not headlines. Pull-tab, evaporated milk is following this pattern, with shelves frequently partial or empty and out-of-stock tags disappearing, signaling stores have stopped expecting regular shipments. Production is prioritized for higher-margin fresh milk and cheese, and the pull-tab format requires additional steps that are cut first. The pull-tab is a real advantage during a power outage when a can opener is hard to find. Evaporated milk has 60% less water, delivering about 16 grams of protein per cup, and works in coffee, baking, and as a milk substitute. For households with children or elderly members, this shelf-stable dairy option is invaluable. Number 1 is honey in large containers. Honey is the only item on this list that literally never expires. It has been found edible in 3,000-year-old Egyptian tombs. It has natural antimicrobial properties. However, large 5-pound jugs are becoming hard to find. Domestic bee colony collapse is reducing productivity, and increased import scrutiny is delaying shipments due to adulteration. Honey is more than a sweetener. It has antibacterial properties, works as a cough suppressant, and provides quick energy. It substitutes for sugar in recipes. Given its indefinite shelf life and practical value, buying large containers now makes rational sense. Here is what ties all 9 items together. Close to 30 million Americans already live far from a full-service supermarket. Store closures, concentrated production, and supply disruptions are eroding food availability. These 9 items fill the nutritional gaps that staples like rice, beans, and canned vegetables leave. Cooking oil, bacon, bouillon, butter, yeast, sardines, tomato paste, evaporated milk, and honey. They make a food reserve function as a real diet, not just a calorie count. The approach is simple. Add 2 items from this list to your cart on each of your next 3 shopping trips. This builds a modest, usable buffer that insulates your household from spot shortages and price spikes. The window of opportunity is now. Which item will you pick up first?